Well, breaking now, President Trump just announcing a ceasefire between Israel and Iran that he says he hopes will become permanent. So here's what he said on social media just a short time ago. It has been fully agreed by and between Israel and Iran that there will be a complete and total ceasefire in approximately 6 hours from now, when Israel and Iran have wound down and completed their in-progress final missions for 12 hours, at which point the war will be considered ended. That is what he wrote on social media. Let's check in now with Fox's Caroline Elliott, who has been covering this for us today. Actually, you know what? Let me give you a little bit of context here, a little bit of background. It was this afternoon around noon our time when we saw Iran launch a retaliatory strike against a U.S. airbase in Qatar. The base had been evacuated, air defense systems were activated, and there were no reports of any injuries or significant damage. And so if you'll remember, this is now 2 days after U.S. airstrikes crippled Iran's nuclear sites. And so the world has been waiting now to hear what is President Trump going to do next. So again, he's declared the ceasefire. Let's check in now with Fox's Caroline Elliott. So Caroline, all of this happening here just within the last 30 minutes or so. I know you're probably scrambling to get some information, but last we heard, the president goes into the Situation Room and we're all waiting to hear what his next move is, and then there's this.
Yeah, Amy, right now we're still checking in with law enforcement sources, but we have to imagine that this ceasefire deal is certainly a step in the right direction, but again, doesn't take away from these serious warnings from the DHS in the last 2 days. We know that officials in New York, LA, DC, and Miami are all, again, tracing this situation closely in Iran and increasing security at religious sites across the cities right now. We're hearing from NYPD that, again, looking at the situation on the ground in Iran closely and placing additional resources outside some of those religious sites or soft targets like churches and synagogues that could be vulnerable to an attack. Amy.
Yeah, because we talk about the sleeper cells and that sort of attack. Also, obviously, the troops overseas. There are a couple of different places here where there's a lot of concern by Americans about safety, even though it looks as though things, according to President Trump, have moved in a positive direction. To his point, you know, will this stick?
Yeah, only time will tell. Amy, we will tell you, though, in the last couple hours, we did hear from the Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, again, just a couple hours ago. And to your point, she brought up that concern of sleeper cells, saying that's one of the biggest priorities for this administration right now, because, again, we do know that, a large number of undocumented migrants came across the border, okay? And the biggest concern for this administration is that there could be people here that they don't know about that, again, have bad intentions and are just waiting on that command.
Yeah,
Amy.
And we know that, you know, Americans are divided on this. Lawmakers have been divided on whether or not it was the right move to attack Iran. Do we expect, you know, protests, things like that to happen in the coming days?
Yeah, Amy, we've already started actually seeing some of those protests happen pretty quickly after Trump announced that, again, the U.S. did bomb Iran. So, again, in the last couple days, we saw those protests break out in L.A., D.C., New York, and Chicago. In fact, some of those protests are still ongoing in Chicago right now, and we're hearing that additional protests are planned across the U.S. tomorrow.
All
Amy.
Right. Thank you. Caroline Elliott live for us in New York. Appreciate that. And tomorrow, President Trump and other NATO leaders are gathering for a summit at The Hague. The situation with Iran expected to dominate that summit, along with questions over Ukraine's place at that meeting as well.